Wilfred Owen was born in 1893 in England. He was the eldest of his siblings. His earlier poetic works were not only influenced by the Bible but also by some romantic poets like William Wordsworth and John Keats. Later, he enlisted in the Artists' Rifle, served as a second lieutenant in Manchester Regiment. Soon the reality of war makes him realize the agonizing pain. He had been suffering from neurasthenia or shell shock, which is a term originated during the First World War. And the term is used to describe post traumatic stress disorder. For this treatment, he had been sent to Craiglockhart War Hospital in Edinburgh, where he met Seafred Sassoon, the famous anti-war poet. And this meeting paved the path for anti-war poetry for Wilfred Owen. This meeting enlightened the mind of Owen to emphasize on the horrors of war. The very name of the poem, Spring Offensive, itself refers to a horrible series of bloodthirsty battles. The poem was influenced by the incident happened during the spring of 1918 when a military campaign was launched by Germany to defeat the British and French armies on the Western Front. Halted against the shade of a last hill. Halted means came to an abrupt end. Stopped. Stopped against the shade of a last hill. Stopped in the shade of the remotest hill. They fade. They refers to the soldiers. And lying easy. The soldiers were lying. They were taking rest. Were at ease. They were feeling comfortable. And finding comfortable chests and knees, carelessly slept. The soldiers slept on each other's chests and knees, as these were the substitute of pillow. But many there stood still to face the stark, blank sky beyond the reach. But many soldiers were standing still. They were facing the blank sky beyond the ridge. Ridge means a long, narrow, raised part of a surface, especially a high edge along a mountain. The soldiers were looking beyond the high edge of a mountain or a hill, knowing their feet had come to the end of the world. They were very conscious that they have come to the end of the world. They knew that they were standing on the verge of death. Marveling, they stood. Marveling means in surprise. The soldiers stood in amazement, in surprise, and watched the long grass swirled by the May breeze. Swirled means twisted. They were watching how the long grass got twisted by the wind of May. Murmurous with wasp and midge. Wasp and midge are two types of insects, which has been referred in this poem. Who were making low and indistinct sound, who were making murmuring sound. For though the summer oozed into their veins, like the injected drug for their bones' pains, it seemed that the warmth of the sun passed gradually in their into their veins to lessen their pain. The warmth of the sun was compared to a drug which would decrease their painful bones, which would ease their injury or bruises. Sharp on their soles hung the imminent line of grass. The soldiers were very disturbed in their souls. Imminent means about to happen. They could sense that something bad is going to happen. Fearfully flashed the sky's mysterious glass. Here is an alliteration in this line. Fearfully flashed. The vision of the forthcoming event perturbed them. The image of the incident were flashing on the mysterious glass of the sky, and the soldiers were very much disturbed by this incident. Hour after hour they pondered the warm field. The soldiers were observing carefully the warm field over the hours, and the far valley behind, and also they were observing the valley which was at distant, where the buttercups had blessed with gold their slow birds coming up. Buttercups are the yellow, shiny, cup shaped flowers which track the sun, which follow the sun to collect solar energy from the sunbeams. The buttercups paid homage to the soldiers. And this question might come to your mind, how did they do so? When the soldiers were marching up, you could see by the phrase, slow birds coming up. So when they were marching up, then the buttercups have blessed them. They have adored the soldiers. Where even the little brambles would not yield. Brambles mean a pricky scrambling shrub of the rose family, and yield means stop. Even the little thorny brambles would not stop, but what did they do? But clutched and clung to them like sorrowing hands, as if these little brambles were holding tightly the soldiers, so that they could stop the soldiers. They breathed like trees unstirred, and the soldiers were breathing like trees. They were breathing like any movement. They were quiet and still. Still, like a cold gust, thrilled the little ward. How long the soldiers stand still, how long the soldiers breathe, as long as they have not heard the little word. What is this little word? Word which thrilled like a cold wind. This little word is the command for battle, which paves way for commencement of war, at which each body and its soul be guard. Hearing the word, each soul and body of soldiers wrap themselves, surround themselves in the serious thought of war. They were preparing their mind and body and soul for the battle and tightened them for battle. and strengthen their bodies. They were strengthening their bodies and soul for the upcoming battle. Now, how was the war began? No alarms of bugles, no high flags, no clamorous haste. Bugles is a brass instrument which is used for military signal. The poet says that there was no warning of bugles to proclaim war, no high flags. There was no hoisting of high flags to announce war officially, no clamorous haste. There was no noisy activity which could proclaim the war. Then how did the war begin? Only a lift and flare of eyes that faced the sun. The soldiers only lifted their eyes. They were facing the sun. Suddenly the whole scenario changed. The sun, like a friend with whom their love is done. Once there was a strong bond of friendship, and now the love for the friend has come to an end. Now the love is lost. The friendship is lost forever. So when friendship is lost, then war is about to happen. O larger shone that smile against the sun. After losing the friendship, the smile seemed even broader. The smile shone larger. The peaceful scenario has turned into a disturbing one. Mightier than his whose bounty these have spurned. The very line reflects that the soldiers have spurned. The soldiers have refused an offer of friendship. They rejected the bounty. They rejected the grace of serving nature. How? By refusing their friendship with the sun, with nature, with any natural element, because nature contradicts war. The sun, which was a source of light and warmth few moments before, has turned their enemy. So soon they topped the hill. In a short time, the soldiers surpassed the hill and raced together. They competed together over an open stretch of herb and heather. They went over an open area of herb, any seed bearing plant, and heather. Heather is a purple colored Eurasian flower. So they went to that place. Exposed. The word exposed itself induces the mood of tension. Exposed means revealed, uncovered. And instantly the whole sky burned with fury against them. And at that very point of time, the sky kindled with violent anger against the soldiers, and soft sudden cups opened in thousands for their blood. This very line has various kinds of interpretation. Some say that this soft sudden cups refer to the buttercups, the wildflowers which are the elements of nature. So nature is holding the blood of the soldiers. Others say that earth was holding their blood, the blood of the soldiers. But there is but there is a different kind of meaning which says that if we look in the opinion of the writer Kenneth Simcox, he had said that this very imagery could be associated with the Eucharistic imagery in the Christian tradition, which represents the body and blood of Christ. And the green slopes chasmed and steep and sheer to infinite space. The green slopes, which had a deep, narrow opening, slanted down completely to an eternal space. Of them who running on that last high place, few soldiers who managed to escape from the battlefield, they run on the last high place, which echoes the last hill of the first stanza. They were somehow trying to get rid from this horrible place. Leapt to swift unseen bullets. They jumped, they moved to and fro to save themselves from the unseen bullets, or went up on the hot blast. Neither they could save themselves from the hot blast, from the explosion and fury of hell's upsurge, nor could the soldiers run away from the gruesomeness of the hell, even on that very hill. Owen, in his poem, refers the battleground as hell because it serves brutality. It unveils the butchery of human lives in the battleground, or plunged and fail away past this world's verge. Plunged means dive quickly. Even if the soldiers dive quickly to pass the spine chilling, horrible circumstances of the war ground, still they would fall over the edge of the world. That would be their ultimate downfall. They could not escape. Some say God caught them even before they fell. This line says that the soldiers got caught by God Himself, but there is something more to it. Though Owen grew up as a Catholic, but the brutality in the battlefield changed his belief. His belief got shaken. So, most probably, this line is a mockery. But what say, such as from existence brink, ventured but drave, too swift to sink? The use of the conjunction but at the beginning of the sentence changes the tone of the poem. He is asking what could be said in this situation. The situation where the soldiers were standing at the verge of death. Ventured, the soldiers set out to escape, but drave too swift to sink. But they could not. read from it. The few who rushed in the body to enter hell. Few soldiers who entered again in the battlefield, which has been referred as hell, and there, outfiending all its fiends and flames. Fiend refers to an evil person. The soldiers who entered the battlefield, they were becoming more devilish, they were becoming more evil to win the battle with superhuman inhumanities. Why superhuman? Because war has always been glorified by some poets. So at that time, the warrior was considered a superhuman being. So it is superhuman. Then why it is inhumanities? Owen has given a different perspective of war. To him, war is associated with inhuman activities. It is associated with slaughtering of human lives. He says that persecuting the opponent in the battlefield is an inhuman activity. Long famous glories, because over the ages war has been glorified. War has been associated with heroism. Immemorial shames, the shameful atmosphere of war, which was caused by the dreadful of war. War not only brings glory, but also it brings shame, about which no one talks about. And crawling slowly back, this tragic scenario shows that the soldiers who were alive, they crawled slowly backwards. Why backwards? Because they were physically and mentally exhausted. They were very tired after watching, after experiencing the gruesomeness of war. Have by degrees regained cool, peaceful air in wonder. The soldiers who survived the war tried to return to a peaceful state of mind after the period of turmoil in the battleground. Why speak they not of comrades that went under? In the very last line of the poem, Owen raises a thought provoking question. The poet raises his voice to dive deeper into the realm of war. He asks why society have a tendency to forget the sacrifices of the soldiers. Why society did not pay any attention or homage to the sacrifices made by the dead soldiers. These dead soldiers are the forgotten comrades who went under, who served for their nation, who served for their beloved country, but they are forgotten by their country people.